Okay, so I decided to go ahead and do a live since I'm off work, and I just kind of want to talk about myself personally this time instead of other people. So, what I realized that a lot of the times we create our own enemies, and we don't always realize that. We don't ever talk about that. If you really think about it for a second, why are a lot of men and women avoiding relationships? They are more isolated because they've been hurt very badly before. Every single player fell in love. Every single quote unquote three or four fell in love. And each one of them gave 100% into a relationship or they saw something while they were growing up that broke a little part of them aside. The part of them that craved that companionship and that hurt that they never fully healed from, they pass on to other people. And what I mean by that is I had to do some self reflection. And I'll come back to what I originally said here at the beginning, but I had to do some self reflection. If you don't know, I was married and, I got divorced. And after my divorce, I had the mindset of I will never get married again. And to be honest with you, I truthfully have no desire to ever get married again still. But to take it a little further, I had a feeling of, well, I don't ever want to be in a relationship again. And when I was younger, there was an old saying: "They get over one woman, you just get underneath another one." Whether you think that's right or wrong, that was just the truth. However, though, I'm not a young teenage, early 20s anymore. In addition to me at least, marriage is a lot deeper than somebody you're playing house with, and that's essentially what a just a girlfriend or boyfriend or somebody you dating is playing house until you guys decide to be officially more serious. So after my divorce, I was a wreck. And when I say I was a wreck, I was just in a fog for the longest time because I took my vows seriously. For better or for worse, to death do us apart, all this other kind of stuff. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of why me and my ex-wife got divorced, but I will say that the impact of it having on me, um, this left me lost. It left me hurt, and I couldn't figure out or how or why people were always so willing to date so fast right after, or just have situationships right after. For me, and I guess this came with my age, that I like the security of just being with one person. I mean, if you look at the world right now, in cities like Atlanta, Houston, etc., Miami, they all have skyrocketing STD rates to the point that each city they could populate their own state with all the people that have STDs and HIV. And you see these things where you gotta have all these special requirements just to date a woman, or even men not wanting to do anything anymore, not even to really pay or do anything simple like cut the grass for a woman anymore unless they're getting some type of benefit. Do I believe in 50-50? Well, not at all. But I do believe in where I may have some slack at, my partner's going to pick it up and not going to complain about it. That's what I think a relationship is. As a man, way I was raised, yes, I do want to take care of paying the home and the car and everything else. But if my wife can take care of the groceries or the smaller bills, why not? I mean, it's not like we're back in the 1990s, 80s, or 70s where things were a lot more affordable. Things are crazy high, and it's almost impossible for a single man to take care of everything alone anymore. So, with that being said, man, I guess I'm kind of losing my train of thought. But with that being said, though, trying to rebuild that connection with somebody, um, vetting them. Now, it's one thing if I was just to say, I just want to just go around and just lay in bed with as many women as I possibly can. That isn't the goal. And like I said, I really did enjoy just having a connection with just one person, and just having that one person. I don't have to worry about that. I don't got to worry about any STDs. I don't got to worry about, grooming, wooing, and, all this other kind of stuff. you don't got to worry about none of that. You just have to worry about, hey, is my wife happy? Does she have what she needs and some of the things she wants? And vice versa. Now, I will say this, and you can take this statement with a grain of salt, that a lot of the times we create our own enemies. And what do I mean by that? Let's say if, again, this is not my situation, but let's say if you were married, right? And you found out your spouse was cheating on you with multiple men. You suspect it, but you end up finding out for sure later. So what normally ends up happening to the person that got cheated on? It can go one or two ways. They can get very sad and depressed and isolate themselves and don't want to talk or date anybody ever again. Or they can go back out into the world having the mindset believing that nobody is really worth the time of day, so everybody is just a piece of trash. So I'm going to treat everybody like a piece of trash. You got to think about it. Whenever they said there is a loss of a relationship, a loss of marriage, it was a failure. It really was. And that kind of commitment, if you took it really serious, if you took your vows really serious, that means you lost a part of yourself. And when you lose a part of yourself and you don't take the time to try to heal it, to rebuild it, to try to regenerate it some way, shape, or form, you're going around as an incomplete person that's hurting people, intentionally or unintentionally. You can sit there and tell a woman, hey, I just don't want anything serious. I just want somebody to hang out with for some time, mainly physical, and just go about our lives. You do you and I do me. But the sad part is somebody always catches feeling. One person does eventually. It's very rare where you can just have two people that can do those type of activities and nobody gets more involved. So when you end up hurting that other person that eventually gets feelings for you, what ends up happening? It continues on. Instead of people taking time to figure out why they're hurt, why they feel betrayed, not just, you getting cheated on, but how that make you feel? And how do you feel about the person that cheated on you? And the reason I say that, and again, I'm not saying my ex-wife cheated on me, but what I am going to say was, whenever I was lost after my divorce and I was hurting, I really didn't talk bad about her because she was my wife. And I just didn't want to do that. However, though, I was so hurt that I wasn't myself. And I was trying to pin on the act because, I still have a kid that's going to see me every day. So I can't be depressed. I can't just sit in my room and listen to music all day. I still got to work. I still got to provide. I still got to lead. I still got to educate, or wisdom or otherwise. I still got to be a better example. So, eventually I ended up going to therapy. And whenever I was talking out details of my marriage with my therapist, it did make me feel better. However, though, I still didn't find the core reason to why I was still feeling the way I was. And don't get me wrong, I did try going on a few dates. And I remember I kissed a woman. And when I kissed her, I still felt like I was cheating on my ex. I didn't understand that. I felt bad. And, me and her stopped talking. Don't get me wrong. She was a great woman from what I can tell. Again, when you're dating somebody, you're getting to know them. So you truly don't really know anybody until you're with them for a long time. But at that particular time, and this is like almost a year after, and I was just like, no, this just don't feel right. Well, and then one day I had to be really honest with myself. I think my daughter was out of town on a field trip. So I had some time to myself, just to be by myself, to do some self-discovery. I couldn't figure out why I refused to try to connect with anybody. I had trouble figuring out why I still felt so empty and sad inside. And then I eventually figured out that I hated my ex. And once I realized I hated her, it let me let go and not hate her anymore, if that makes sense. Because hate is not just that one singular emotion. Oh, I hate you. Well, why do you hate somebody? Because they hurt you most of the time. How did it feel when they hurt you? It made me feel sad. It made me feel betrayed. Why did you feel this way? Because we took vows and commitments. Okay, so what about those vows didn't go the way you thought they would? Because, I sacrificed and did everything I could for her, but yet she still left me with no real good reasoning. Now, again, once I went through the mental process of why I actually hated her and broke down every single step like I did just now, and there was more in depth, but this is a general overview I just gave just then. I was able to figure out that I hate her. I know why I hate her. I don't hate her anymore. I can finally just let go. And I will say, hate is a very powerful emotion. So powerful that around certain dates of the year, anniversaries, holidays, or, special moments and places that me and her shared, I would get physically ill or feel physical pain. I didn't figure out why. And then once I realized I had hate for her, and I was able to admit that and figure out the reasoning for the hate, and I was able to let that go, those physical pains and ailments, they went away, and I felt like a weight lifted off my shoulder. And I think that's the issue I'm just trying to bring light to here. I know I kind of went all over the place in this video, but sometimes before we jump into another relationship and we carry our heart over to another person and then we create another enemy or villain, sometimes it's more healthy for us just to stay single, figure ourselves out, figure out the reasons for our hurt, and just move on. So that's all I wanted to say on this. This is a short video of this, my personal journey in that area. That's it. Like, comment, subscribe if you watched it through. And I hope this helps somebody. And if you have some comments or questions, I'd like to talk about it, please do so. I hope everybody have a great and wonderful day. Thank you.